Hey, what's going on, Purple People podcast fans? Welcome to this week's show. My name is Kyle Smith. I am joined by the one and the only Adam Carlson.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going. Happy hump day. Last but not least, Kyle West is here as well. What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm doing good. I liked your little pre-show countdown. It was like the beginning of a Limp Bizkit song. Like 3, 2, 1, Purple People podcast. Foul Fred Durst. That's about all I know.
Explicitive, something awful over new metal.
Nookie. Hey, I kind of like new metal.
And then here comes The Undertaker.
Right.
For those of you guys that tune in and watch this later, this is episode 384 from Harris with Love. I love that awful John Travolta movie for some stupid reason. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's not his best work. But
I usually avoid Travolta.
I have it on DVD, but I've never taken it out of the shrink wrap. Oops.
This is the first podcast history that I've seen something that both of you haven't. This is crazy. And it's not like one of those, this was a commercial success. It's not like Avatar or something. This is just a really cheesy John Travolta movie. So,
well,
if you have nothing to do and you need to do something, check out that movie. But we're going to jump into a bunch of stuff this week. We mentioned before amongst ourselves that this week's show, probably, at least for me, I said, we're not going to talk about anything. We have a ton of notes, and a lot of it came in from yesterday. The Vikings got some compensatory picks.
Right.
We're going to go over all the draft picks and the order and the number. And there's some rumors that are floating around. So we're going to jump right into that. The quick hits to start it off. Britton Colquitt, the punter, expects to re-sign with the Vikings. Thank God.
I love that news a lot.
Yes. We all like that news. We're all fans of this, right?
Punter.
I don't even care if he got like a 50% raise. I'm happy with all of that.
He deserves it. He deserves it if they did give him a big pay raise, Adam.
Yeah, the year that Kirk Cousins joined is also when we got Dan Bailey, and he looked a little shaky at times, but overall he was pretty good, at least a shell of himself. Mm-hmm. Last year he returned to form, and I give a lot of the credit to Britton Colquitt. The holding game is so
Absolutely,
100%.
He's a fantastic punter as well, so that's good news if you're a Viking fan, for sure, especially with all the kicking woes this history of this team has. He has said, my agent and my family, we believe in the Vikings. They've made it clear we believe they want to make a deal before free agency, which free agency starts next week. Today is Wednesday, March 11th. I believe it starts on the 18th, which is next week. Mm-hmm. So if that comes out by the time the next show comes around, we will obviously let you know. Rumored deals of this contract include a 3-year deal with 2 years guaranteed, and it's believed to be averaged between $2 and $3 million per season.
Oh, he's getting a over 100% raise.
Yeah, that was just rumored that I found. Rumored as to what his agent approached the Vikings with. And so we'll see where they go from there as to what the actual contract will end up being. But I imagine that they will get that done probably, like you said, Smith, within the week. So maybe on next week's episode, we will have some actual details about his contract with the team.
Because if I remember right, he signed for under $1 million for last year. Close to whatever his minimum is. And I guess they liked what they saw, because I'd throw extra money at him just for that holding too, just to hear, we don't want to worry about it. Here, take an extra $1 million.
Yeah. Yep, I definitely would. It's worth it.
Well, like I mentioned before, too, is when you can get Dan Bailey to return to form, he's one of the most accurate kickers ever. He's still got some tread on the tires left. He's a little bit older. He had some injuries, but if you could help him return to form, the holding game was terrible 2 years ago. So that you just see a major turnaround, and it's something that you can't. That's the things that lose games. I know it's cliche to say, but if you're missing field goals, that could end up costing you some games, and you got to win every game that you can. So this is really good news, as we said, for the Vikings, for all the fans. Hopefully this is true, and we'll let you know if we hear any deals coming up.
Now, even if the Vikings can't bring back Dan Bailey, they've got a firm holder in place, a solid punter, just someone who won't interrupt the rest of the special teams unit too much. I wouldn't feel too uncomfortable now to bring someone new in. Of course, I'd prefer the familiarity, but the signing of Colquitt would make me a very happy man.
Yeah, supposing they had to go to the draft or an undrafted rookie kicker again, having a solid holder should alleviate some of the woes that they had with Daniel Carlson coming in and some of the problems that he had. Getting Colquitt out there should be able to help a rookie, should the Vikings have to go that route. But I think that they're going to try really hard to bring Dan Bailey back.
I still feel for Daniel Carlson. I feel if they'd had a solid holder, he'd still be here.
Oh, he would be.
Yep. It's crazy the domino that had. We're mentioning Vedvik now here. Kai Forbath, was here for a season or two. Man, it's just glad. I'm glad to have some consistency there and not have to worry about that for once. How long? We don't know, but it's nice to have.
Vikings have went through a lot of kickers underneath Mike Zimmer.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I thought once Mike Prefer left, things would get a little calmer on there.
Not quite. We're getting close to stability, though. It feels like it.
We're going to save the Anthony Harris stuff for a little bit later. Pro Football Focus highest graded linebackers. Let's talk about those. Missing out on the highest graded linebacker spot last season, Eric Kendricks came in at number 2 at 90.3. Only one person above him. 0.1 points higher, Demario Davis.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because Kendricks was in first through most of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So that must have just slipped away at the very end.
There's a gap, too, from 2 to 3. Levante David is 89.2, and then Alexander Johnson at 88.6. We praised Eric Kendricks all last season. We'll just have to give him the credit where the credit's due. It's finally nice to see the stats come up and show, and a couple of articles came out talking about him last year. Glad to see him getting a little bit of recognition in the limelight. This is just a good stat to add in there of how good he's been. He's just been very good for a long time, and the consistency staying there. And I am really excited that he's in the prime of his career, maybe just starting into the prime for the Vikings. He's a great pickup.
Right, and the Vikings have a lot of we know that they've got some work to do. We talked about it last week on bringing in some corners and stuff, but they do have some good pieces in place on that defense. Guys like Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, Harrison Smith, who are out there that continually, grade out and rank highly for this team. So like you said, Eric Kendricks with a 90.3 overall ranking at the linebacker position. Really good spot for him to be in, a really good solid piece for the Vikings to continue to build around on defense.
Yeah, and it's crazy too. A couple years ago, he's a second-round pick. Anthony Barr's 9th overall in his draft, and we were thinking about moving on from him for a week there.
Mm-hmm.
There's been nothing of the way of thinking about getting rid of Eric Kendricks. There's no way.
Nope.
No.
He had some very key plays last year too. One of the things that helped Kirk Cousins get over, just now that I'm thinking about it, that game in Dallas against the Cowboys. That's a familiar team to Kirk Cousins. The team's how he played for the Redskins for a while, but I can't win in prime time. That was a prime time game, and Eric Kendricks kind of sealed the deal at the end of the game, covering a lot running back, which is really weird. He was covering Zeke Elliott, and he broke it up at the end of the game. I like Eric Kendricks a lot. I probably need to get a jersey before it's too late.
I would like to see the Vikings do something for linebacker depth this year because they've kind of been skating by a little thin. As much as Ben Gedeon can be that thumper on the other side to make tackles, and Eric Wilson can fill in at multiple positions, past Wilson, I mean, there really isn't too much at linebacker where you can feel comfortable. You've got some special teams role players. Ken Terrell Brothers hasn't really gotten a lot of chances on defense, and I don't know. To me, who was it? Cam Smith they drafted last year. He didn't impress me really much at all. I don't know. It's just it's a unit that needs a little love, but they're kind of low on the list because they're just not the squeaky wheel right now.
Right. So who do you guys like more at the linebacker group for the Vikings, Kendricks or Barr?
Oh, it's Kendricks.
Yeah, it's Kendricks, but also depending on what they do, I like Barr more as a pass rusher. I don't like him in coverage, but that's what Kendricks is for. He does very well. I think they're both great in their own right, but if you had to pick one, I think you got to go with Eric Kendricks.
Yeah, Kendricks was Pro Football Focus's #1 coverage linebacker, which was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'd say Kendricks is definitely the more well-rounded of the two, he can like overall play better. But Anthony Barr, like you said, Smith, he's really good at being able to sniff around the line of scrimmage, rush the quarterback, get some plays out that way. When he drops back into coverage, it gets a little scary sometimes. But
Yeah, I think he's been exposed in coverage a little
Yeah.
bit, which sucks because you don't want him on a speedy wide receiver. You just don't. He's a big guy, but he's not as quick as those guys, so it's a mismatch. I've seen him rush the passer. I've seen him come down and make plays even after he's injured and on the ground. One thing that comes to mind, we were in Atlanta, 3-4 years ago, runs down the running back. Was it Devontae Freeman, and knocks the ball out of his hand, and a cast falls off his arm.
Yeah,
we're playing Anthony Barr here. He's a great player, but
right.
we got to pick one of those guys. I think the more consistent one is Eric Kendricks. But shout out to him, man. He missed that number one spot by 0.1 points. So
Right. I wonder what decided the 0.1. Like, what? How do you decide between a 0.1
can we get
percentage?
more coverage on that, and please tell me why.
Yeah,
Just whiffed a tackle, and then there it goes.
Oh, that's great.
it could be as simple as that. It really could be.
Did you see the lowest missed tackle percentage by the Vikings went to Mackenzie Alexander?
Ooh, I've
No,
heard
I didn't know that.
before. That makes sense.
He's a tackling machine.
It's pretty cool.
That made me think of the
Water boy. Yeah.
Free agency rumors. Let's hit some of those up. The Vikings are interested in re-signing right tackle Rashad Hill, who's a pending free agent. Not bad for depth.
He can fill in. He's fine.
Yeah, I think he's a good rotational tackle. He can swing in and play when he needs to. I would love that if they could keep him around.
Yep, I'd be a fan of that.
Another one that's here that I really like. The Vikings are also interested in re-signing center Brett Jones. I like this too. I like the fact that it gives Garrett Bradbury a slight push, and God forbid something happened, you could have a competent center step in. But I like Brett Jones. I like any offensive line depth. But neither one of those say guard, so I'm not really happy. But I think those are great.
Yeah, I'm a bit more in the camp of bringing in competitive guards, and sure, having centers can usually play guards, so it's not usually too big of a deal if they have to step in. But I don't know, having these players that have experience but might not really be a real push. Like, let's be honest, Brett Jones isn't going to steal the starting job from Garrett Bradbury this year.
No.
And it would take a huge collapse for Bradbury to have that happen.
Right.
So, yeah, I like having some depth on the O-line, but I wish it was a little bit more competitive depth.
That's fair. And we had talked earlier in the offseason about how when it comes to the first kind of wave of players that the Vikings sign, it's not going to be like splashy re-signings, and because they don't have a lot of money to work with. And so you're definitely seeing like, hey, we want to bring back Rashad Hill. We want to bring back Brett Jones. These are not big names that are going to command a lot on free agency. I think that's why, the Vikings want to retain those guys because they know they don't have to give them huge contracts. I was reading that Brett Jones potentially may want to test the free agent market because, like you said, Adam, he is potentially interested in going to a team where it's an open competition, and it's not a competition in Minnesota. Like you said, Garrett Bradbury is our center. So the battle, but we'll see what happens if he doesn't get a lot of interest in the open market. I potentially see him sticking around here in Minnesota.
Absolutely. But I'm still on board for the Vikings looking at the interior offensive line early. I've been reading a lot of mocks and a lot of players, a lot of fans on Twitter and Facebook talking about how offensive tackle is a higher priority. I just don't see that. I'm still a little bit of a believer in Riley Reif. I just want someone next to him that's a little bit more capable. And I think that we'll see a lot more improvement from that left side of the offensive line if that does happen.
Right on.
That's a good point. Speaking of people to keep around on the cheap, Andrew Sendejo, in his 6 weeks back with the Vikings in 2019, he graded out at 73.3 overall, according to Pro Football Focus. The question here is, would you like to see Sendejo back in 2020? with the way that we're probably going to lose a lot of starters, absolutely.
100%.
Yep.
Especially since they're already teaching an old dog new tricks. He can swing in and play corner, slot corner when needed. He can play safety. He's good on special teams. He can be rotational. Andrew Sendejo provides a lot of versatility. He's not going to be too expensive. He's familiar to the system. It all adds up to a player that the Vikings need to bring back.
Very versatile guy. He's a Swiss Army knife out there on defense. I think that the Vikings are looking for players that they can shift around and move around like that. I think that's why they brought in Dom Capers a little bit to look at, unique ways of lining guys up in different packages. So I like what you can do with Sendejo on the field. You're also looking at a guy who he's getting up there in age a little bit. He tried to go to the Eagles. It didn't work out. They released him. So I kind of see him just wanting to stick around Minnesota at this point. I don't see him trying to fit in elsewhere. So I hope he's back. I think he will be back for Minnesota. It's a good fit for him. Good fit for the team. Good fit for him here in purple as well, too.
Yeah, I like it. The Vikings got rid of him going into last season, because they knew Anthony Harris would step in and start. Remember the game with the Minneapolis Miracle? He was starting that game. Anthony Harris filled in, and that was kind of the evolution into the spotlight that got Anthony Harris into the last 2 years. The reason he was signed with the Eagles is because everyone on their team was injured last year that wasn't named Carson Wentz. So, it's kind of a, hey, fill in for a little bit. They released him before the trade deadline and all that fun stuff.
Right.
Minnesota. I think at least, we've talked about this in the show last month, at a minimum, at least one of the two of Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes, maybe possibly both, starting corners are going to be gone. And now Anthony Harris, which we're going to shift and talk about here in a second, being gone. There's 3 of your 4 starters in the secondary gone. So at least it's familiarity, it's consistency. Like you said, Kyle, he's getting up there in age, but he can fill in for sure. I don't think he's out the door just yet. So I hope he comes back, and I think that he will. I think that he will take a deal to stay in Minnesota, because if you can't stay on a team where all their players are injured, you probably have limited options, which is a sad truth. But we love him. We love him at the show. I know the fans like him a lot because he hits super hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he didn't really fill in as to what the Eagles wanted to do in their defense. His skill set's different, and he's not really the ball hawking safety they were looking for, although he can make plays. Mm-hmm. He's more of the defender, the guardian of the end zone and everything, just out there making smash hits and making the wide receivers think twice about what they're doing before they catch that football over the middle.
Yeah, he can lay the hammer down for sure. Probably my favorite quality about him, probably just like anyone else. If you watch Andrew Sendejo play, he plays really hard. So
I want to talk for a second. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that right there.
Yeah, Wartag's hanging out. He's the lone guy in the chat right now, so we're going to highlight whatever questions he wants to talk about. He thinks the tackle's a higher priority because we can swing Reef to guard. Well, the good thing about that is this draft is full of good linemen, and specifically tackles. So if that is an option that they want to look into, question I have for you guys and for Wartag is, do you think Reef would be an upgrade at guard over Elflein?
Oh, 1,000%. But they also are paying Rafe what they're paying him, right? And you can't really afford to pay a left guard that money.
Yeah, they're paying him tackle money to move to a guard. That there would have to be a contract restructure.
So you bring a guy into the office and you're like, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change your position. We're going to take about half your money away. You happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would not be a pretty negotiation, especially with the money still on his contract. He could just have them cut him and he could walk away with a nice chunk of cash. Honestly, I don't think Riley's in enough decline to where there's any real reason to throw him out. And I don't think that he has given me enough signals to think that it's time to move on from him at a tackle position, because if he was not on the Minnesota Vikings, there would be teams paying him a lot of money to take over that tackle position.
They just have to do something with Pat Elflein. That's the real concern for me.
And we need to see some growth from Bradbury.
Yeah, that too.
For sure.
Those are the two majors.
The weakness is at center and left guard for the line. And I think, this is my opinion, I don't know anything about football, but this is one of the moves in free agency you got to go look at to add an upgrade over Pat Elflein. Keep Elflein. Let him be a backup. Let him get his head together. See if he can figure this out. He was only in, what, year 2 or 3? Go out and get a good free agent guard if there is any. You're going to lose some players this year. The Vikings are, and we're only a week or 2 away from talking about players walking out the door. You're going to have cap space eventually, and this is one of the places you absolutely got to go. We don't have Lamar Jackson. We don't have Patrick Mahomes. We have Kirk Cousins, who's going to stand up. Maybe he'll peel out a little bit left and right, make a throw, but he's not running. And you got to have a good fit in this scheme as well. So if you can't protect the quarterback, and we all agree, Pat Elflein, he was the biggest concern last year on the line.
He got a lot of donkeys.
I think that's where the Vikings need to look into free agency if there's any decent guards out there that's an upgrade from him.
See, I wouldn't spend money in free agency on guard. I would definitely use that to try to bring back the players they already have. This would be a draft thing. I'd be looking maybe as early as rounds 2 to 4 for drafting a guard. Just someone with high potential so that they can either push him or just take the job. And I'd be fine with either one of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
And if I was to sit here and think about which players are between the two, between Pat Elflein and Garrett Bradbury, as to which one do I think is possibly going to ascend and which one is maybe going to decline, I definitely put more faith in Bradbury getting better and ascending in his career. I have more faith in that. I have less faith that Pat Elflein is going to
rebound
turn it around.
Rookie status.
Gonna
his
rebound.
Rookie season, he didn't look bad.
Yeah, he did. He looked pretty good. I really don't know what happened with him.
It's not like the Vikings we've talked about before, that we've been fooled by offensive linemen who looked great and then just absolutely pooped the Serta. So who knows?
I was going to bring up Matt Khalil just now before you guys finished. I hope it's not one of those. Really hope it's not one of those.
I hope it's not either.
We love Pat at the show. Let's give him some love.
I do too.
We're here to support him. We want him to do well. If he can come back and play amazing, we're 100% here to support him and the team. But that doesn't mean we can't criticize.
Right.
Very true. Speaking of not criticizing, had nothing bad to say about this guy last year, and you get a whole podcast episode named after you. Anthony Harris, most underrated free agent safety, according to Pro Football Focus, quoted as saying, he was finally rewarded with the chance to start all season last year, and he finished with the best PFF coverage grade among all safeties at 91.6. Harris had 6 interceptions and 5 pass breakups in the regular season. Anthony Harris recently switched agents to Brian Murphy of Athletes First, who currently represents 3 players on the Minnesota Vikings: Harris, Trey Waynes, and Everson Griffin. That's cool. All defensive players.
Interesting
All that might
little
not
nugget.
be here after this year.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Read into that what you will, that he switched to that agent. I don't know if it means anything or not. I don't know. That's why I put it in there, because it's interesting.
That's a good thing about you. You did all the notes anyway, so you get all the credit for all the stuff I'm reading. But
I just Google. Hey, I just Google.
Google is your friend.
Yep.
But yeah, I know the Vikings would love to bring him back, but they've already said that they don't think they can afford to. And Mike Zimmer has wished him nothing but the best. So I think that's already a farewell, which is disappointing, but it's the way the NFL works. If there was no salary cap, the Wilfs would be shoving out some money to bring him back.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a great guy off the field too. That's one of the major things. There's no nonsense. He's not getting in trouble. He's a good dude. I think he's going to the Raiders, Buccaneers. I don't like it. That's what I've been reading, but that seems like a fair landing spot. They can use him in either one of those defenses. John Gruden would love this dude.
Over or under 10 mil a year, what do you think?
Over. Only because he's going to capitalize on this season. But if anybody's watched tape on him the last 2 to 3 years, he's only getting better and better. So,
well, safeties are going to get paid pretty well this year because the market just is that way. This year, running backs are going to get almost nothing, which is why it's a horrible time for the Vikings to kind of be looking to re-sign Dalvin Cook, because they're going to throw him an offer that's going to be kind of disgusting for an extension.
It's not time yet. It's not time. I can't.
You don't really want to insult him by putting something on the table that's market value right now, because the number he sees is going to be much lower than he wants.
It's really interesting with how all the cap kind of evolves, and like Dak Prescott, what is he? He's looking for upwards of $40 million a year. That's not a $40 million a year quarterback. Yeah, just not. He turned down over $30 million a year not too long ago, in case you guys didn't hear, in the last couple of days. Thinking about the running back value, though, is it more insulting to get a consistent guaranteed contract like Kirk Cousins got, but maybe at a lower rate per year, but it's all guaranteed? I don't know how the individual players think of that, but if I'm thinking about, okay, I have guaranteed money no matter what, wouldn't you want to shift to something like that instead of, hey, we'll give you a $90 million contract, most of it's front loaded, you get a signing bonus, but we can get rid of you in 2 years? Which do you would take rather see?
I would take the guaranteed contract if it's lower, because like you said, it's guaranteed money. Because we see this all the time, like you said. You give a player a big contract and then they get cut 2 years into it.
The Jets.
Yeah. Don't mean anything.
The Jets, what they're doing right now is, I don't know what they did with Trumaine Johnson. He's a good cornerback.
Yes.
I don't know what that coaching staff did to him, but wherever he goes, he's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Come on to Minnesota, man. We can't afford you, but I'd love to have you. That's just interesting. That's something we're going to talk about on the show for sure in the future. I'm really hoping that Dalvin Cook doesn't hold out. He did have a great season last year, but it was the first of 3 seasons. You know, it's a high risk for the Vikings to sign him this early, especially to shovel out a ton of cash for somebody that gets injured a lot. But he was the offense last year. We can't deny that at all. In a Kubiak system, he's going to be the workhorse. But be interested to see. Going back to Anthony Harris, though, I'm with you, Adam. I don't think that he's going to come back, and it's not because the Vikings don't want to. They simply just can't afford him. Like I said, the rumors that I've been reading around online is he would be a great fit for the Raiders, even the Bucks. I know the Colts have a lot of money. The Jets have a lot of money. So there's just some teams that you maybe possibly could see based on, hey, we have the money to actually afford him. But we love him here at the show. I like him because he has Virginia ties, and I was there for a long time. I think he's an outstanding player and a good human overall. So good luck to you. Maybe by this time next week, he'll be sitting somewhere else, unfortunately. But we'll let you know.
Do you guys think he is one of those players that's going to get signed on day one? Day 1, day 2 free agent? Does he get a big contract? Like immediately?
I don't know. If I was him, I would look and see the offers. He might not want to go play in Tampa or New York, but if they give him $60 million, he'd be like, cool, I'm going to tattoo green on my face.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think the thing that we're all anticipating, and this is just me being selfish, and we're talking about free agency alone, I'm just ready to see where all these quarterbacks go, because this is nuts.
Oh, this is one of the funnest free agent periods for quarterbacks.
I think in my life,
long time.
This is going to be the craziest and, like you said, the most fun free agency period ever. Because I mean, Tom Brady could be moving, Phillip Rivers, all these quarterbacks, and I take like an example from last year, like a Ryan Tannehill. Let's take Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton and move him somewhere behind a starter now. The starter sucks. They put him in and he does great. That's great for the NFL, and that's great for all of us because we get to watch. So I'm excited about that. I don't know.
Pro Football Talks number 1 free agent quarterback, though, isn't going to hit the free market.
What's that?
Pro Football Talks number 1 quarterback free agent isn't going to hit the market, though.
Who's that?
Taysom Hill. They're always posting about that guy. Always.
He is an enigma. He's an interesting player.
I'd make fun of his quarterback style, but he tears up the Vikings when he goes in, so I can't say nothing.
I'll tell you what, Mike Florio, I love Chris Sims and Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio is a big Vikings fan, whether he tries to deny it or not. He said straight up, he's like, the best player on the field during that Vikings-Saints playoff game this year was Taysom Hill. And I agree with him. I thought he was phenomenal. I don't know why the Saints didn't keep him out there, but I don't know. The more I'm in disbelief because I saw what Teddy Bridgewater did, and I think we're all here openly homers for him. But the more we start hearing about it it sounds like they're going to stick with him going forward post Drew Brees. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, because I believe they already put a first round tender on Taysom Hill. The Saints.
How does that work? I'm ignorant to that stuff. A team can choose the tender on a player?
Yes.
Okay.
But then they got to guarantee him a certain amount of money on his contract.
Okay.
It's kind of an ugly situation, but they say they're just going to hold it until they can work out a deal, which I don't know why they wouldn't do like the Vikings did with just franchise tag them and hold it over unless they were worried about them holding out.
Right.
Because let's be honest, none of us really thought that Chad Greenway was going to hold out when they franchise tagged him.
No, that was never a possibility with Chad.
That wasn't going to happen.
No.
We got to talk about Chad Greenway today. What a good episode.
Well, that was the last time the Vikings used their franchise tag, and of course, there's a chance that this year, I don't think that the deadline is passed, has it? Yeah, it has, right?
I don't know.
What's that?
The date to end
The franchise tag.
Yeah, and transition tags. That's passed, right?
I want to say so.
You got filibuster.
Because the Vikings haven't used theirs since Chad Greenway. I don't believe they've ever used a transition tag in the whole franchise history. I don't think they have.
Since we've been doing this podcast, I don't ever remember talking about it. Vikings using a transition tag.
No, the Vikings don't take advantage of a lot of those things. They don't do the tags. They usually don't do much in the supplemental draft.
Oh, okay. So this is what happened. So I remember seeing an alert on my phone. So this is just Google. It comes up in the little box with the top story, NFL.com. The NFL Players Association and NFL Management Council agreed to extend the franchise and transition tag deadline to 11/59/59 Monday. So this coming Monday. I think it was supposed to be Friday.
Okay.
Well, it was set for tomorrow, Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, after initially being pushed from March 10th, which was yesterday. So it'll be Monday coming up. So with all this CBA stuff.
No wonder I was confused by the date.
Right.
Yeah, so with all this CBA stuff that they're working out now, they're extending by a couple of days the franchise tag deadline. So this is interesting because technically, so let me look at my calendar here really quick while it pulls up on this Mac that's going to take a million years to open now. Of course, it's still bouncing around and not opening. So Monday, Tuesday, I believe, is the 18th. Tuesday or Wednesday next week is the 18th. So this franchise tag deadline, Monday is the 16th. So a week from today is the 18th. That's a new league year, and that's when free agency can officially start. So Monday, that's when the franchise tag is the deadline is, and then 2 days later, free agency starts. So by the time the next episode.
But what if they don't sign the new CBA by then?
Well, isn't
Then
what
what
happened?
happens?
The players rejected the 17 game proposal under what they had, right? So it went back to the league.
Yes, and I also read that they're trying to. Of course, the owners, the billionaires, are trying to take away. Some of the players wanted to go back and change their votes because I guess they looked into the CBA more. The owners and everybody else in management was like, "No, you've already made your vote. We're not going to change it," which I think is really fucked up. But
and now the proposal, I guess, the league is throwing back at them is for an 18-game season.
Yeah,
that went the opposite direction.
in a minute. But since we're already here at this, let's talk about something that I listened to today that was interesting, and it ties into this new schedule. So when you got guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and J.J. Watt, these guys that are 100 millionaires, and they're like, we got to worry about the future of the NFL. Those guys and their contracts are few and far between. They're in the top 2% of the NFL that makes that much money. Most of these guys have a 3 to 5 year window to make as much money as possible. So these guys that are more management friendly and want to go to this stuff, they might lean a little bit towards the NFL on this. The younger guys are leaning more towards, I want every dollar possible. Also, my body hurts a lot and I get hurt a lot more, which is going to increase my chance of never playing again. Give me money now, and I don't want to play I don't want to play any more games than I don't have to. But the problem with that is, like I mentioned just now, let's say they realize this afterwards. They talk with one of their friends, or they could swing the majority vote for their team because each team has a player representative. Let's say the team comes back and is like, hey, we read over that. That deal is trash. We're not going to go with it. Now the owners are saying, well, too late. You already put in your vote. That's not really fair. I'm glad this hasn't gotten to the point where it's ugly and lockout potential like 2011. But they really need to do something better for the next CBA coming around, because it looks like the owners are going to kind of bully them into this for this CBA, at least for this go around.
Well, 2 years ago, they predicted that the CBA was going to be an absolute challenge for everybody to work out.
Yep.
And it's not really because they want anything to change. I think both parties were quite happy with the way the last couple seasons have worked out. Sure, they'd like a couple more things here and there, but for the most part, the league ran rather smoothly. But now it's just both sides needing a little bit. The players want a little bit of extra money. They want a little bit of health care after they retire, and they want reasonable things. Meanwhile, the NFL, they also want a few reasonable things, but the problem is that what's reasonable to one isn't really always reasonable to the other. And healthcare for NFL players is expensive. They try to offset that by adding a game, and then they say, well, we're trying to keep healthy here, and they say, yeah, but we're trying to look at you down the line. The conversation back and forth just gets rough like that.
Here's more. This is from NFL.com, and this is yesterday at 3:56 p.m., so almost 24 hours ago. The NFLPA extended its window for players to vote for a potential new CBA until this Saturday at 11:59 Eastern, which directly led into the league moving the franchise window once again. If the CBA is not passed, teams will have the ability to employ both the franchise and transition tags in 2020. This moves the deadline until after the players' CBA vote, eliminates the need for teams to use both tags, and then be forced to rescind one tender if the agreement passes. So teams like the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, Titans have Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, are candidates to use both tags if the CBA is not agreed upon.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Immediately following the close of the franchise tag deadline, the negotiating window for free agency opens at noon Monday, and at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, March 18th, the new league year and free agency begins. So the countdown is on. We are exactly a week away from pure madness in the free agency world.
It's strange how a lot of this is something that a lot of casual fans haven't been talking a lot about, whether it's the CBA, the tagging situations, and all that. It's really a confusing and exciting time, and you got to imagine that players are just staying glued to their phones to figure out what's going on and waiting for any kind of notification as to what's going to change in their job and their career. And it's got to be a crazy time.
It's great too. I have to show this. No matter, I'm going to try to pull this up because I forgot how to do it. I want to show everyone a real travesty before we get into these notes. We're going to talk about compensatory picks, and these are really, really funny because Kyle put these in there the other day. I can't pull it up because I can't remember how to do a share screen. Yes, I can right here. If you guys want to see a real travesty, this is it. The LA Rams new logo. Can we talk about how bad?
Oh my goodness.
I legitimately thought it was the Chargers logo.
I did too.
It looks like a lightning bolt with a C around. I'm like, oh, the Chargers got a new logo. It's kind of cool for the Chargers. That's the Rams. I don't understand.
And the Rams had such a historically just very eye-pleasing, very fitting logo.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the Rams would want to change that.
I said this to a couple of my friends. I just couldn't believe that you have an entire marketing department and team, and then you go back and you say, this is the best we could come up with. You guys got to do better than that. It's really, really bad. All right, I give up on trying to do the share screen stuff. If you guys haven't seen the new LA Rams, it's yellow and there's I don't know if it's like a ram horn that keeps growing, but it's yellow and it looks like the LA Chargers lightning bolt going backwards and then underneath. It's terrible. So Los Angeles. It's like the premier market minus New York.
I saw Fansided post that on their Facebook, the picture of the hat, and I was like, that's just some fan hat. It's got to be. Some fan made that and thought it was awesome.
It's bad. All right. Yeah, I saw that comment. I can't put that up there, but that's a good point, Pia Cat. That's a very good point. Let's talk about the Vikings compensatory picks, and we'll go round by round with their draft picks here. The Vikings will receive one pick in the third, 150th, two seventh-round selections, 249th and 253rd overall. They are based off of free agent losses and gains in 2019. They now have 10 total selections, which is what Slick Rick always wants in every draft. I'm going to swear. Just because Kyle West put this in here and it's really funny, but it says the fucking Patriots got an NFL high 4 compensatory picks.
The Patriots draft well and their exiting free agents get paid well.
NFL's just got to make sure the Patriots dynasty continues. Fucking give him 4 more picks.
This is the best one right here, too. Kyle West is the MVP of this episode. 100% with the game ball. Completely arbitrary statistic. The Vikings have had 25 compensatory picks since 1994. I didn't need to know that, but I do.
What is that? I know. I was reading that. I love stupid shit like this because why did the person who originally dug this up pick since 1994? What is the determining factor from 94 till now?
Maybe he just
1990. Why not 2000? Why not 96? Why 2000? Why 1994? That's so stupid.
I love it. I love it. I thank you for throwing that in the notes.
Yeah,
that is so good.
Oh,
So good.
Those stats are just ridiculous. So when they do it, like this quarterback threw for this percentage when in this quarter with this many yards to go, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
So with all those picks now, the Vikings selecting the first round at 25 overall, the second round at 58 overall, the third round 89th and 105th overall, the fourth round at 132 overall, no fifth round selection, sixth round at 205 overall, and in the seventh round they pick at 219, 239, 249, and 253. Okay, so where are they moving up with those seventh round picks? Are they going to try to fix it in the fifth round?
Yeah, I think they try to flip some of those seventh to get maybe up into the fifth.
This is a sneaky one right here. I did not know. Now, this comes off the news today, so obviously that's why I didn't know. But now they have 2 third-round picks. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
I like that third round.
Quality players in the third round.
That third round, 105 overall, is a pretty darn good pick.
And you could give up 2 of those seventh-round selections to go back up in the fifth, maybe 3 of them. I mean, you got 4 of them. Push up into the fifth round, and then there you are sitting with 2/3 all the way down, and you have a selection in every round after that. They're in a good spot this year. I like that.
And who knows? Maybe one of those third rounders gets thrown with that first rounder if a prospect they really love is falling a bit. They move on up.
Right on. The Vikings, like you said, they reached. Like you said, Smith, they reached that sweet spot of 10 overall picks, which is what Rick Spielman likes. That gives him plenty of opportunity to move up or trade back into the draft. So I suspect we'll see a lot of that. He'll trade back, he'll trade up, we'll get extra picks. There will be a lot of movement because they don't really have the cap space this year to do a lot in free agency. So I think they're going to be going for players in this draft in particular who can step in and fill roles immediately for this team. So I lots of movement from Minnesota.
Yeah, a lot of the bottom of their roster is going to be made up of young players, league minimum players, rookies. It's just not going to be the established veteran presence as far as backups on this team. You are going to see a lot of young players not getting paid.
Correct.
A lot.
So here we are, just to give everybody that. We're only piggybacking because this is the last topic of the day, and I want to give some more numbers on it. But right now, on over the cap, the Vikings have $198,057,012 spent out of $199,616,240. They have $1,389,736 right now. Now, we've talked about it before, potentially losing Xavier Rhodes, who is 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th highest paid on the team. Going down the line. Oh, I don't see. Maybe I skipped over him. Trying to see where Trey Waynes lines up in that thing there. But possibly losing Xavier Rhodes. He's at the highest pay. He's in the top 5 highest paid Vikings there at $9,900,000. Probably going to restructure a deal with Everson Griffin. There's a potential Trey Waynes loss. Anthony Harris might be leaving. That money, that $1.3 million that we're at right now is definitely going to go up, but it's not going to be too significant.
Well, you got to remember too, the Vikings can't restructure Everson Griffin because Everson Griffin is right now scheduled to become a free agent.
Oh, that's right. He did opt out so he could help. That's the rumor going around. Thank you. I stand corrected. He opted out. Hopefully, in the rumor going around is that it's going to be for a team friendlier deal. We want him to stay. We'll see what that number ends up being. And as soon as we hear it, we'll throw it on an episode coming up here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Vikings have to be approaching a couple players about taking a little bit of a pay cut. I wouldn't be surprised if the first person called up is Rhodes. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Mm-hmm. There are also some other candidates. Riley Reef is up there. He could be seen to take a restructure. I don't know if it's going to be a pay cut, but maybe a restructure to move some guaranteed money around and bonuses to free up some salary cap. But as a whole, it's going to be a little tougher than a lot of fans think to get some salary cap freed up for this team. But I sure hope they can make it happen.
You had mentioned it, Adam. If they do an extension restructure with Kirk Cousins, could that free up some contract space for the Vikings? Like in the immediate future, would that help out? Like, is that a possibility?
I don't believe so. I don't think there's anything they can really do at that point because his contract is fully guaranteed.
Right.
You'd have to do something really interesting for Kirk Cousins to be interested in taking any kind of adjustment to his contract. You would have to maybe pay him $32 million or so, and then you'd have to transition quite a bit of that to bonuses, and I just don't see the incentive for him to do that.
Give him a bunch like a whole sack full of lottery tickets, scratch tickets, and pull tabs. This is how we're paying your salary, Kirk.
Unlimited Pizza Ranch. Wait, you already get that.
Yeah. My Pillow. Get him some of those My Pillows that Paul Allen is always talking about.
Yep. So those are your statistics from Over the Cap. Only because I have it in front of me. We are dead last. All 32 teams. The Steelers and the Falcons are right above us. The Steelers have $1.5 million left over. The Dolphins, Colts, Bills, Bucks, and Giants all are in the top 5. Yeah, the Dolphins have $88 million in cap space. I don't understand that.
They haven't been signing anybody.
Good God. They could go out and sign a ton of people. That's a lot of money.
They had a lot of cap rollover from last year.
The Colts right behind them, too. The Colts were a borderline playoff team. $86 million. The Bills were a playoff team. They have $81 million. Jesus.
I think I read something about the Jaguars where they haven't received a compensatory pick in like 10 years. And that shows you how bad of drafting they've done.
Ugh.
At least the Vikings, we know that they're getting some compensatory picks, so they're not wasting their draft picks. They are getting talented players. They just can't really afford to keep them around. But imagine being that bad at drafting where you just don't get picks, especially when some of your picks have been high-profile quarterbacks coming out of the draft.
You spoke on the Jaguars, too. Remember 3 years ago, the potential Super Bowl matchup was the two best defenses in the NFL, right? The Vikings and the Jaguars. That seeing where they were at in the AFC Championship game to now is super embarrassing. I would be super frustrated if I was a Jags fan. That whole defensive unit, as I think everybody but one corner or safety is still left.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Leonard Fournette's on Instagram posting the Pablo Escobar picture. It's like sitting in a swing, sad because all his friends are leaving the team. Yes, it could be worse. We could be Jaguar fans. All right, at least we
just move that team to London. Just completely fuck with them.
Hey, that's a good point, too. That's something else we can keep talking about to drag this episode out. So if they go to a 17-game season, which looks like they probably will, that's going to shift the number of home games and away games, and it won't be even. Where do you think every team is probably going to have to go for at least one game a year?
They should start playing on neutral sites. I don't know. Wouldn't that be weird? Just like some neutral site.
Like London or Mexico City?
Here in the States, some neutral site that doesn't have an NFL team. They could sell out. They could sell
build $1 billion stadium for this.
You just go to the biggest college stadiums and do it.
Yeah, they'll never agree to that. The owners won't.
Yeah, you're right. They won't, but we have ideas, and damn it, I want them to use one.
Not happening.
Kyle, you want to talk about that interesting thing you said right before we started? Who proposed instead of going for a fourth down?
Oh, the Eagles proposed a rule change that I guess they experimented with in the Pro Bowl, but no one watches the Pro Bowl. So this is the first any of us have actually heard of it. Right. They're doing the thing where instead of going for an onside kick, you could take the ball on your own 25-yard line and you'd get a 4th and 15 opportunity to convert it. So if you make it, you get the ball back and you got to drive the length of the field still to go down and score. But if you don't make it, you're giving the other team the ball on your 25-yard line, so they're already in field goal range.
What team would have the balls to do that now besides the Chiefs? What team's just going to go out and be like, whatever, we'll do it?
The Chiefs.
I see the Rams doing it. And
it's a decent trade-off. Just think about it. If you go to the 25, you're going to hit 15-yard completion or more. You're at least going to like the 41, so you're almost at midfield. I would watch that. I would be super pissed if the Vikings did it.
Don't tell me you wouldn't watch.
Do that, but that's
okay. The game is on the line. Lamar Jackson has the ball, 4th and 15.
Oh, I would watch that every week.
Right on. But no, like you said, what coaches are actually going to do that?
I think the only situation that you could is when you're down by more than 3, and that's a situation, and you got to go for it.
Yeah,
maybe. It also depends on where you are in the field too. I think that's it, though. I think that's about the end of this show. We're talking about crazy 4th and 15 rules and all these other teams with their cap money we don't have.
Yeah, but it's fun to think about.
We'll keep everybody. Thank you guys that are going to tune in later, too. I know it's the middle of the day. We didn't give much of a notice that we were going to do this show, but we appreciate it. If you guys want to jump in, let us know, like, your thoughts on the free agency stuff. Let us know where you would go in this draft, what you would like to see in the first couple of rounds. If you were the GM, you can talk about Anthony Harris as well. Remember, we said that Britton Colquitt's coming back. You can give your thoughts on that. Anderson Dejo, too. Man, those are good. I'm glad to see those guys potentially sticking around. Yeah, I want to promote this right here for our guy, Adam Carlson. He's got a lot of good stuff on this website. You should check him out. There, it's here. Just kidding. It's there.
I'm working on my next mock draft. I haven't done one yet this year, so
it's the
it'll be my first and only, probably.
It's next month. The draft is coming up.
Can you give us a spoiler, Adam?
It's pretty bland at the top.
No digs?
Nope, Stephon Diggs is a wide receiver.
I like
Trayvon Diggs.
Like Rick Spielman said recently, Stephon Diggs is a Minnesota Viking. And he didn't say for how long.
Andre Diggs.
Like that. It's good, man.
Tay Diggs.
Tay Diggs is after, right?
Yes. I'm just naming all the Diggs I know.
Yeah, go check out the Viking Age, guys. Adam writes for that site, and if you interact at the bottom and shoot a comment, give your opinions back, he might interact with you. Other people might interact with you, and it also helps him pay the bills. So you should definitely
a lot
check
of great content over there too.
Articles from that website.
Team does great work. We're constantly putting stuff up about free agency. I believe Adam Patrick just put up an article about Diggs, as you were saying, and his choice of attire during a workout. So.
Yep.
You can check that out if you like.
No spoilers here. You have to go check it out.
But yeah, please check out my work over there and give a click through my mock draft when it comes out in a couple of days. So it should be good, should be entertaining, should be fun. That's what I aim for. Meanwhile, over on Undead Walking, I've got to say that I'm enjoying one of the best times of The Walking Dead that I've ever had. And this Whisperer War is heating up so much, and the way the last episode ended, I'm just waiting for the next episode to come out because I'm just ready to see what happens. It's a lot of action, a lot of drama, and if you haven't checked out the show in a while, you've been messing out a little bit. You might want to check out what's been going on in season 10 because it's been pretty good.
Kyle West, would you like to promote your stuff?
Sure. You can get Purple People Podcast merchandise over on my website, phantasmdigital.com. You can get our logo. You can get some of my photography work. Should you choose, you can get it on prints to hang on your wall. You can get phone chargers, beach towels, shower curtains, throw pillows, hoodies, whatever. You can get it all.
Also, to the podcast winner, I have your shirt right here, and it's going out tomorrow. So once I get out of work, it's going out.
I've got all the stuff in a box, but I have not put tape on it, so I'm being lazy.
Sorry, I've been out of town. I was in DC last week for work, so I didn't get to bring everything with me that I wanted to, but I'll get that to you. We apologize for the delay. But as we were talking about here, Phantasm Digital, Kyle West right here. You can put a bunch of stuff that you need on T-shirts, all kinds of apparel. And the cool thing we do, even though it just ended a couple months ago, for this show, we do a survival league. It's free to play, and if you win, you get free stuff. Like I'm going to send out tomorrow. Adam jumps in and throws his cool stuff in there. So does Kyle. So you can check all of that out as well. I have nothing else. It's been a fun show. We'll let you know. Like I said, free agency madness is coming up next week. My thought is just to these guys is probably to wait about a week and a day, let the free agency stuff simmer down. We could talk about total NFL trades all around, and then see what happens with the Vikings if anybody leaves on that very first day. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting week coming up, and we're inching closer to the draft. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and if you pick up any Purple People Podcast merchandise, feel free to share it to us on our Facebook page, and we'll give you a shout out, because I'd love to see someone taking a nice big drink of coffee out of a Purple People Podcast coffee mug or something like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Share it on the screen here too. We can share it right here on the show, so you get a shout out on the show, and we can show the whole world on YouTube. It'll be there forever.
That's right. On another note, I'd like to thank everyone who joined us in the chat, Pia Cat, Wartag, and anyone else who's watching along with us live. Also, those who interact with us on social media. I hope that we can get back in a little bit of a rotation of doing a social media question of the week. If I could get one of you Kyles to throw one of them up every once in a while. I love that interaction. I miss that. I'd love to have a little bit more of that. I love the interaction we get from the live viewers, but I also love the interaction on the socials. So hopefully we can get a little bit more of that. And once again, if you could like, share, subscribe if you're into that, cool. It would help us out. We'd appreciate it. Meanwhile, stay classy, Minnesota.